For over 600 years, the world's most mysterious book has defied every attempt to decode it. Written in an unknown language, filled with impossible plants and naked women in strange baths, the Voynich Manuscript has driven cryptographers to madness and made experts question everything they know about medieval knowledge. This is the story of humanity's greatest unsolved puzzle. Welcome to Mysteries of Time, where we explore the mysteries that have captivated humanity for centuries. I'm your host, and today we're investigating what experts call the most mysterious manuscript in the world. The Voynich Manuscript, housed at Yale University's WWII library, contains over 240 pages of text and illustrations that have puzzled scholars, cryptographers, and linguists for over a century. Despite the combined efforts of codebreakers who cracked Nazi Enigma, AI systems, and the world's leading medieval experts, the 600-year-old book remains completely unreadable. What secrets does it contain, and why can't we unlock them? Our story begins in 1912 at the Villa Mondragone near Rome, where Polish book dealer Wilfrid Voynich discovered a collection of ancient manuscripts being sold by Jesuit priests. Among them was a strange volume that immediately caught his attention, not for its beauty, but for its complete incomprehensibility. The manuscript was unlike anything Voynich had encountered in decades of dealing with medieval texts. Every page contained elaborate illustrations accompanied by text written in an alphabet that didn't match any known language. The writing was clearly intentional and systematic, not random scribbles or artistic decoration, but followed patterns and structures that suggested a real language, just not one anyone could identify. Voynich brought the manuscript back to America, hoping that scholars at leading universities could shed light on its origins. Instead, he had unknowingly acquired what would become one of history's most enduring puzzles. The manuscript was named after him, and the mystery deepened with every expert who examined it. The Voynich Manuscript is divided into several distinct sections, each more puzzling than the last. The botanical section contains detailed drawings of plants, but they don't match any known species. These aren't stylized or simplified medieval plant illustrations. They show complex root systems, unusual flowering patterns, and anatomical details that suggest the artist had direct knowledge of living specimens. Yet botanists have been unable to identify a single plant, despite the remarkable detail. The astronomical section contains circular diagrams, star charts, and what appear to be zodiac symbols mixed with unknown celestial observations. Some pages show women emerging from or bathing in strange pools, connected by elaborate networks of pipes and tubes. These balneological sections, as scholars call them, show dozens of nude women in various pools, often holding stars or celestial objects, suggesting some connection between the bathing rituals and astronomical observations. The pharmaceutical section contains drawings of containers, roots, and what appear to be medicinal preparations, accompanied by extensive text that might describe procedures or recipes. But without being able to read the language, these potentially valuable medical texts remain locked away from modern understanding. Each section suggests specialized knowledge in botany, astronomy, medicine, and perhaps alchemy, areas of study that would require years of education in medieval times. This wasn't the work of an amateur or a hoax. It represented sophisticated understanding of multiple scholarly disciplines. The text of the Voynich Manuscript follows patterns that are both familiar and impossible. Statistical analysis shows it has the characteristics of a natural language. Certain letters appear with frequencies similar to known languages, words have consistent spelling patterns, and there are clear grammatical structures. But here's where it gets strange. The language is too perfect. Natural languages have irregularities, exceptions, and inconsistencies that develop over centuries of use. The Voynich script is almost mathematically precise in its patterns, suggesting either an artificially constructed language or an incredibly sophisticated cipher system. Linguists have identified what appear to be around 170 unique characters, though some might be variations of the same letter. The words, if they are words, are typically short, with most containing 4 to 6 characters. There's clear evidence of a grammatical system, with certain character combinations appearing only at the beginning or end of words, suggesting prefixes and suffixes. Most puzzling of all, the text shows almost no corrections or revisions. Medieval scribes commonly made mistakes and corrections when copying texts, but the Voynich manuscript flows as if the writer never hesitated, never made errors, and never needed to correct their work. This level of consistency is almost superhuman and adds to theories that the entire manuscript might be an elaborate hoax created using some unknown systematic method. If the Voynich Manuscript is encoded text, it should be breakable. After all, humans have cracked everything from ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs to Nazi Enigma codes. Some of the world's most brilliant cryptographers have attempted to decode it, including William Friedman, who broke Japanese diplomatic codes during World War II. Friedman spent decades analyzing the manuscript, applying every known cryptographic technique. He concluded that if it was a cipher, it was unlike anything he had encountered. The patterns were too complex for simple substitution ciphers, but too regular for most sophisticated encryption methods known in medieval times. During the 1970s, computer analysis became possible, allowing scholars to perform statistical analyses that would have taken years by hand. The results were even more puzzling. The text showed characteristics of multiple languages simultaneously, sometimes resembling Romance languages, sometimes Germanic, occasionally displaying patterns similar to Chinese or Arabic scripts. Most recently, artificial intelligence systems trained on hundreds of languages have been applied to the manuscript. These AI systems, capable of detecting patterns invisible to human analysis, have produced partial translations that read like medieval medical or botanical texts. However, the translations are inconsistent and often nonsensical, leading experts to question whether the AI is finding real patterns or creating false connections. As decoding efforts repeatedly failed, some scholars began to suspect the Voynich Manuscript might be an elaborate hoax. But if so, it's the most sophisticated fake in history. Creating 240 pages of consistent, language-like text would require a systematic method that medieval forgers wouldn't possess. Some theories suggest it could be the work of Roger Bacon, the 13th century English philosopher and scientist, created as a way to hide advanced scientific knowledge from religious authorities. Others propose it was made by Renaissance charlatans attempting to create a mysterious ancient text for wealthy collectors. The hoax theory faces several problems. First, the manuscript has been carbon dated to the early 15th century, making it genuinely old even if the content is fake. Second, creating such a consistent artificial language would require linguistic knowledge that didn't exist in medieval times. Third, the illustrations show botanical and astronomical details that suggest real observation and knowledge, not random invention. Perhaps most convincing against the hoax theory is the sheer effort involved. Creating 240 pages of consistent fake text, accompanied by detailed illustrations, would take years of work with no guarantee of financial return. Medieval forgers typically created obviously valuable items, fake relics or documents granting land rights. A mysterious, unreadable book would have little market value. Recent scholarship has produced increasingly specific theories about the manuscript's content and purpose. Some researchers believe it's a women's health manual, pointing to the numerous illustrations of naked women and what appear to be gynecological diagrams. The plant illustrations might represent herbs used in women's medicine, which would explain why they're unidentifiable. Such knowledge was often kept secret and might involve plants that are now extinct. The bathing scenes could represent medieval spa treatments or therapeutic baths, a common medical practice of the time. The astronomical sections might relate to timing medical treatments according to celestial cycles, a standard practice in medieval medicine. This theory explains the manuscript's specialized nature and why it remains undeciphered. It dealt with knowledge that was deliberately obscured or coded to protect trade secrets. Another compelling theory suggests the manuscript originates from Central Europe, possibly written in a constructed script for a language like Czech, Hungarian, or Croatian. Medieval scholars sometimes created artificial alphabets to write vernacular languages, especially for texts dealing with sensitive subjects like medicine or alchemy. Computer analysis has found potential similarities to Turkish and other Turkic languages, leading to speculation that the manuscript might have been created by scholars fleeing the Ottoman expansion into Europe, carrying medical and astronomical knowledge from Byzantine or Islamic sources. The arrival of sophisticated AI systems has brought new hope for solving the Voynich mystery. Machine learning algorithms trained on vast databases of historical texts have produced the most promising translations to date, identifying what appear to be medical terms, plant names, and astronomical references. Google's AI systems have suggested the text might be Hebrew, written in a specialized cipher, while other algorithms have found patterns suggesting Latin medical terminology hidden within the strange script. These AI translations describe medicinal baths, women's health treatments, and herbal remedies, matching the visual content of the illustrations. However, AI translations remain inconsistent and often contradictory. Different systems produce completely different interpretations of the same passages, and even the most promising translations contain nonsensical phrases and apparent gibberish. This has led some experts to believe the manuscript might use multiple encoding systems or represent a pidgin language combining elements from several sources. The most recent AI approach involves training systems specifically on medieval medical texts and then applying them to the Voynich script. These specialized systems have produced more coherent results, suggesting the manuscript does contain medical and botanical knowledge, but expressed in a way that combines multiple linguistic and writing traditions. Despite over a century of intensive study involving the world's leading experts, the Voynich manuscript remains as mysterious as ever. Each new approach, whether historical research, linguistic analysis, or AI interpretation, reveals new complexities while failing to provide definitive answers. Recent discoveries have only deepened the puzzle. High-resolution imaging has revealed previously unnoticed details in the illustrations, including tiny symbols and text that might be keys to interpretation. Analysis of the ink and parchment confirms the manuscript's age, but provides no clues about its origin or language. Perhaps most frustrating for researchers is that the manuscript seems perpetually on the verge of being solved. Every few years, a new expert claims to have cracked the code, only to have their interpretation challenged or disproven. The text appears meaningful and systematic, yet resists every attempt at translation. The manuscript's fame has grown with each failed decoding attempt. It has inspired novels, documentaries, and countless theories posted on the internet by amateur cryptographers. Yale University reports constant requests from researchers wanting to examine the original, and digital copies have been analyzed by thousands of people worldwide. The Voynich manuscript represents more than just an unsolved puzzle. It's a reminder of how much knowledge we've lost from the medieval period. Medieval Europe possessed sophisticated understanding in medicine, astronomy, botany, and other sciences, much of which was destroyed by wars, religious persecution, or simple neglect. If the manuscript does contain genuine medieval knowledge, it might preserve information about plants that are now extinct, medical techniques that have been forgotten, or astronomical observations from a time when the night sky was clearer and more visible. The women's health focus, suggested by many theories, could represent lost understanding of gynecology and obstetrics that predates modern medicine. The manuscript also raises profound questions about the nature of knowledge and communication. How much of our understanding depends on shared cultural contexts that don't survive across centuries? If medieval scholars created systematic methods for encoding knowledge that we can't understand, what does that say about the limitations of our own intellectual frameworks? Perhaps most intriguingly, the manuscript suggests that human knowledge is not always cumulative. We assume that each generation builds on the last, that information is preserved and expanded. But the Voynich manuscript proves that sophisticated knowledge can be completely lost, remaining tantalizingly visible, but utterly inaccessible to later generations. The Voynich manuscript stands as perhaps humanity's greatest intellectual challenge, a puzzle that has humbled the world's most brilliant minds and resisted every technological advance we've thrown at it. For over 600 years, it has guarded its secrets, revealing just enough to intrigue, but never enough to satisfy. What makes the manuscript truly fascinating isn't just its unbreakable code, but what it represents about the limits of human knowledge and the fragility of information across time. Here is a book created by someone with sophisticated understanding of multiple disciplines, written in a systematic language or code, illustrated with careful attention to detail, yet completely inaccessible to our modern understanding. Perhaps the manuscript's greatest lesson is about humility. In an age when we can translate any modern language instantly, When AI systems can process vast amounts of information in seconds, when we believe we can decode any human communication, the Voynich Manuscript reminds us that some secrets remain beyond our reach. Whether it's a lost medical text preserving forgotten healing knowledge, an elaborate medieval hoax that succeeded beyond its creator's wildest dreams, or something else entirely, the manuscript continues to challenge our assumptions about medieval capabilities and the nature of knowledge itself. The Voynich Manuscript continues to fascinate new generations of researchers, cryptographers, and curious minds. Do you think it will ever be decoded, or is it destined to remain forever mysterious? What's your theory about what the book contains? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Until next time, remember, some secrets are worth keeping, and some puzzles are more valuable unsolved than solved.